Hi, how am I coming across, or am I?
We can hear you.
A little pitchy, Bob.
That's on.
Good evening, everyone. Time is 7:30. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the regular council meeting for May 24th, 2021. Time is 7:30. Clerk, can you please take a roll call?
Yes. Councilman Bliss? Councilman Clark?
Here.
Councilman Corbett?
Oh, sorry. Here remotely from Madison Heights, Michigan, Oakland
Thank
County.
you very much.
Thanks, Councilman Clark.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes, present here, Madison Heights remotely, Oakland County.
Councilman Gettings?
Here remotely in Madison Heights, Oakland County, Michigan.
Councilor Rohrbach?
Here remotely, Madison Heights, Oakland County.
Mayor Pro Tem Soltis? Mayor Grafstein?
I am here in council chambers. Can I please get a motion to excuse Councilman Bliss and Mayor Pro Tem Soltis? They've both given notice.
Mrs.
Your
Mayor,
Honor.
Councilman Clark,
I'd like to make that motion to excuse them both.
thank you. Councilman Corbett, did you want a second?
I'd be happy to, thank you.
All right, thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Clerk, can you please take roll call vote regarding the excusals?
Councilwoman Clark?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes,
Councilman Gettings?
Yes,
Councilor Rohrbach?
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein?
I vote yes, motion carries. Thank you. They are excused. The invocation this evening will be from Councilwoman Clark, and she will then be leading us with the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilwoman Clark, floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you, Your Honor. Tonight, I would just like to take a moment of silence to honor Tony Bliss, who we lost last week. I know that he's done a lot for the community and he's meant a lot to a lot of people, and he's been doing it for a lot longer than me. So I just want to take a few minutes to honor him and to give our condolences to Mark Bliss. So if you can just join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, if we could all stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Clark. All right, first up is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions this evening?
Your Honor,
Mr. Corbett?
I don't know, can we do this in one motion or in two? Would be my question to Mr. Sherman. I have two items I'd like to add. Can they be just simply D3 and D4?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I don't know what the items are, and I don't know if the vote would be the same on each motion. Is this, what is?
Yes and yes. Anyway, D3, I would offer, Your Honor, a D3, which would be consideration of the DPS contract with the city, and a D4, which would be the employees of the 43rd District Court. I believe they're both majority votes, so.
Thank you. Is there a second to add these two items?
Ms. Grafstein?
Gettings?
Yes, I will second the motion.
Great, thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilman Gettings,
Yes,
Counselor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
Vote yes, motion carries. These items are added. We also have another addition, and that is a P3 for presentations, for a presentation from the youth assistants. Is anyone in council who can make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councilwoman Clark. Is there a second?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach?
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Yes. Councilman Gettings,
yes,
Counselor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
Vote yes, motion carries. That item has also been added. Are there any other additions or deletions to the agenda?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach?
I would like to add the quality of life grants to the agenda, appropriating funds from the fund balance to the community promotion fund in the budget. I don't know if I need to state the whole fund number, but
Okay, is there support?
I'll
Ms.
support.
Grafstein?
Councilwoman Clark? All right, motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? And just a clarification, this would be D5?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there any discussion regarding D5? Seeing none, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Counselor Rohrbach,
yes.
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilman Gettings,
Yes,
Mayor Grafstein.
I vote yes, motion carries. Thank you. Any other additions or deletions? All right, seeing none, we will move to our presentation. So the first one is proclamation designating June 4th as National Gun Violence Awareness. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Yes, the City Council is scheduled to proclaim the first Friday in June, which is June the 4th, to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and to encourage all residents to support their local community's efforts to prevent the tragic effect of gun violence and to honor the value of human lives.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have certificates of appreciation for the Friends of the Madison Heights Library student volunteers. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report, or shall we do this?
I do not have a report. We have proclamations for each individual that we will be mailing out.
Okay.
So just to say thanks to the 4 Friends volunteers, and I can read their names. There are Natalie Basaki. I might have butchered that name. Hannah Haynes. Cooper Hinkle. And Rebecca Rinke.
Your Honor,
Mr. Corbett?
I was just going to ask if the chairperson of the Friends Committee might want to say a word or two at this moment. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Mary, if you got a second.
Ms. Bush, would you like to take a moment to speak?
Love to. Thank you very much. These 4 extraordinary young people started in January, and they started out with simply sorting of books, working every other Saturday, all the way to the culmination of learning how to price and value vintage books. So that, for instance, one person found a $73 book, another person found a $123 book. At our sale, which was quite successful on Saturday and is continuing until June 12th in the Breckenridge Room, we were able to raise $2,010 because of the efforts of these young people. Cooper led the logistics team, arranged the layout and the setup of all the tents, the tables, and the movement of the books. Natalie Basic brought all the volunteers in, managed them, took care of them. Rebecca was now remind you there's some distinction here in that Natalie and Cooper are both in high school. Robin and Hannah are in middle school, and they were extraordinarily hardworking. Hannah worked the sale last October, but then she put in time every month, continuing to sort books. And then Rebecca, God bless her heart, she sorted a lot of books, and I've never seen somebody work as hard with moving books, the dedication. Every single one of them brought dedication, commitment, and leadership to their volunteer work. I'm very grateful that the city is taking this time to recognize them and the efforts that they put forth on behalf of raising funds for the library. At least 2 of them will be continuing because we've set this up for 3 sections per year. And we're looking forward to having Natalie all the way through the end of the year. And I'm just very grateful for everybody that was, all the volunteers, all the library staff, and all the board members and all of the adult volunteers who supported these young people in making such a difference for our city. So thank you. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Cooper. Thank you, Hannah. And thank you, Rebecca. My heart goes out to all of you. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And I do want to say, Ms. Bush, thank you for sort of rebooting this. I think this is great. I love the library. I love that we're getting our youth involved in this. I stopped by on the weekend, and it was great to see what they were doing. So thank you everyone who was involved in this. We're back in person in July, but I think we're just going to mail out the certificates to you right now. So thank you again for everything that you guys have done.
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Clark.
I see a lot of these volunteers have actually joined us today here on Zoom, and I can see a lot of them. So if we could just ask them to give a wave so that everyone watching at home can see who it is and how awesome they are. Thanks, guys.
All right, so I see Natalie, Hannah, I saw Cooper for a second, and Rebecca. Awesome. Yeah, guys, thank you so much. And if we were here in person, you would come up, we would shake your hand. So thank you so much for doing this, and maybe we'll do it again in person. Thank you. Next up, our presentation number 3 that was added this evening is from the youth assistants. We have Amy Schroeder and Deb Lindsay. So Deb, I'm going to pass it to you, and Amy, not sure how you want to do this.
Actually, if it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and start.
Okay.
So my name is Amy Schroeder, and I'm the chairperson of the Madison Heights Youth Assistants. First, I want to thank you for giving us some time on your agenda this evening to share with you some information about MHYI and for your support of the program. The tri-sponsorship of the Madison Heights Youth Assistants goes back to 1958, and we are one of 26 local youth assistance programs in Oakland County, and we serve the youth and families in Madison Heights. So our mission as the MHYA is to strengthen our youth and families and to prevent and reduce child abuse, neglect, and delinquency through community involvement. So Madison Heights Youth Assistance is uniquely sponsored by the Lanphier Schools, by Madison Schools, by the City of Madison Heights, and by the Oakland County Circuit Court Family Division, with the principal funding coming from the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. And then last but not least is our MHY Volunteer Board of Directors. It's a committee of dedicated volunteers who take the commitment of the sponsors and build it into a valuable local resource in our community. Our small MHYA board is working very hard at recruitment of members, fundraising, and programming to provide needed prevention programs for our youth and our families. Now, this has become increasingly important to the well-being of our community with all the stressors families and youth are struggling to manage in these challenging times that we're living in currently. So we greatly appreciate the support of our the municipality and the school district sponsors. Both cash and in-kind funding from our sponsors is used to cover the operational needs of MHYA as we work to fundraise monies to provide prevention programs to our youth and families. Some examples of our core programs are most commonly known probably our youth recognition, which is where community members can nominate youth to be recognized for their good work or achievement in spite of hardship. And this is a program we look forward to continuing as we are able to gather together again to celebrate our youth. So this year we've had to think outside of the box and to recognize community members, but we're hoping to continue that in years to come. Another thing that we do is our skill building and camp scholarships, where we help families with financial support for activities such as sports, art, music, and other recreational and educational activities to help children expand their life skills, interests, and build self-esteem and decision-making. We also have our We Are Family Recreation and Education Committee, which offers family recreation opportunities, things like the Grinch candy cane hunt that I believe this is the third year, and obviously we couldn't do that this past year, but we did candy canes and distributed them at the tree lighting this year, and we're hoping to continue that as well. We do our Pinwheels for Prevention program, which is in the month of April to bring awareness to child abuse prevention. As well as those, we have educational prevention programs for our youth and families. Prior to the pandemic, we were collaborating with our coalition and our school districts to bring mindfulness, yoga, and art adventures, art therapy, to support the needs of students at both of our districts. These programs focus on helping students to develop skills in areas of self-awareness, communication, conflict resolution, leadership, substance use, refusal, anger management, team building, and goal setting. As well, we are also grateful for the ability that we have at MHYA to create and implement programs we believe would be specific to the needs of our local community. So raising funds for the programming side of MHYA is something we as volunteers have worked diligently at through our Beats and Heats Bowl-a-thon, restaurant fundraisers, grant opportunities, etc. As well, we are grateful for the wonderful organizations like our Community Coalition and the Women's Club who frequently collaborate to offer programming to our youth and families. So clearly during the pandemic, programming has definitely been limited due to the restrictions we have all been dealing with. However, MHYA has sought to provide support to our families through continued casework services, emergency camp and skill building scholarships, and then just to highlight a few. So our Pinwheels for Prevention, this year we were able just to put out signs and pinwheels, but in the past we've held events where we've had approximately 30 youth attend. Obviously not this past Grinch's Candy Cane Hunt, but the one prior, we had over 115 youth in attendance. This past year, we had a Storytime Polar Express, and then we had a bell hunt throughout the community, just a way that we could still provide an activity, although still social distancing. We've offered self-defense for women and girls where we had 20 women and young ladies in attendance. We've done real life choices and dangerous consequences where we've held a panel and brought in speakers to educate families. Our youth recognition, the past year, we recognized 73 youth. With our mindfulness yoga and anxiety management group within the schools, we've reached 54 youth. Our art adventures was with 32 students. Camp and skill building, we've offered 21 youth scholarships. And then we had a donation from the Barnes and Noble and in the collaboration with them that we had over $8,500 of books donated that we were able to distribute within our community. And then we've continued to do our story times and our We Are Family posts. We've donated over 20 backpacks to children in need in Madison Heights. We've posted, we had a screenagers showing about the virtual access for families to build coping skills. And then we've done emergency needs as well. So we've provided winter boots, weighted blankets for anxiety management, pet food, baby clothes, gift cards for food and clothes, all of those things that, you know, just pop up in this day and age. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our caseworker, Deb Lindsay. So Deb, go ahead and take it away. Deb, you're on mute.
You're on mute. You need to unmute.
Thank you, Amy. I forgot how much of that had happened. It seems so far away, so it's good to hear a recap. Thank you, everyone, for giving us some time on the agenda. As the caseworker, I want to take the opportunity. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for giving us some time to talk about our programming and for making the well-being of our children a priority. Youth assistance, both countywide, because there's 26 youth assistance programs across the county, as well as our local program, Madison Heights. It's an effective prevention program because of the positive collaboration of our tri-sponsorship organizations that we've had over 60 years now. The municipalities, the school districts, resources from Oakland County, as well as our local volunteers, is what makes us unique, makes us adaptable, viable, and allows us to be effective at helping strengthen families and children in our community, and especially to try to identify some of those unmet needs or those risks that we might have. As a caseworker, excuse me, as a caseworker, I get to work with families directly. Normally that's my office, which sits in the Lanphier School building, and families come in and meet with me. For the past year, it's been remotely, which has been, for a caseworker who's been doing this for 30 years, learning to do Zoom meetings and FaceTime with clients has been quite the experience. So, but we've adapted and we've learned some things in doing that I think we might not have, known from some of our families without that avenue. But as a caseworker, I get to see how the prevention programs and the services that we offer work together to try to help strengthen families and prevent some of those problems that we know can drive kids into the court system if they're not addressed. So things that we can do through counseling, through our education programs, through our skill building scholarships, through kids that have been diverted to us through the police system or the prosecutor and accountability measures. Those are all things that we utilize to try to address the needs that come to us of our clients through the office. So referrals come to youth assistance really in two categories. We have what are called prevention or counseling referrals, and then we also have what are called diversion referrals. The services that youth assistance provides via casework through the caseworker are assessment, basic counseling, and then we work with families to find additional resources that they need to help stabilize their family and positively impact the children and the adults in the house. The referrals that come to us, they're made primarily by the school, but we also get a number from our local police department. We also get parents who refer directly, and then of course, Department of Human Services and the court also refer to youth assistance. Pandemic, the supports that we've offered have changed. I mean, as a caseworker, I can definitely speak to doing my job differently. A number of times, with parents schooling at home, I mean, sometimes I'm talking to a mom or a kid who is walking through their house, or a parent who's trying to get 4 kids on the computer, and then also address the counseling issues that brought one of the children to our attention. So, and I think just being in people's homes has kind of brought a different light to things. I think it's sometimes encouraged people to be a little bit more open, especially given that we've all been so far apart, and maybe open to some different ideas and strategies that they might not have been as open to if we'd been in an office. So I have been grateful for some of those blessings in my casework experiences with families. Without youth assistance, though, the diversion cases, which are the referrals that come from our police department or from the court, those would often end up in court on probation or in children's village. They can leave the young person with a permanent record. They also cost taxpayers significant monies, and they cost individual families thousands of dollars in costs. So by being able to divert certain kinds of issues to youth assistance, we're able to prevent that official court contact and then all of those costs that are incurred to the community as well as to the family. An example, the daily cost of sending a child to Children's Village is just under $200 a day. The cost of referring a family to youth assistance is a $25 processing fee, which we can waive if we need to. And we have a lot of different strategies and avenues that we can work with in helping those kids get the help they need and get back on the path that's going to keep them out of the court system. So offenses that are divertible to youth assistance include things like weapons violations, school truancy, incorrigibility, home truancy, destruction of property, harassment, cyberbullying, which we see more of these days, things like that. Those are the kinds of diversions we get through law enforcement and the court. The prevention cases are more strictly counseling cases, kids that are being referred to us from age 5 to 16 for all kinds of reasons. It might be different peer struggles that they're having or stresses and losses that are going on in the family. And the family is just in need of extra support or new strategies to try to cope with what's happening in their lives. As caseworkers, and especially with those diversion cases, in addition to the assessment and counseling and referrals that we do, when we're not in pandemic times, we also do things like what we call U-turn, which is working with our sheriff's department to do jail tours. I would frequently send kids to the court to observe court cases, and then they write an essay and come back and talk about their experience so that they get a little bit of real world experience. And then we also do things like community service and essays, different kinds of educational programs. So we really are varied in our approach to things, and that's really part of the beauty of youth assistance, is being able to not have to take a cookie cutter approach to every child and every family, because we know there's differences. And we want to try to make sure that we're meeting the needs of that child and that family so that we can really prevent future problems from happening. At any given time, about half of my caseload is prevention, and that's really the way we like it, because we know that the earlier we catch those kids and families that are vulnerable, the more likely we are to keep the more serious problems as well as that court track from happening. So in terms of the last 2 years, because I just kind of summarized the last 2 years since we weren't able to see you all last year, we had 116 referrals to youth assistance. 42 of those were female, 74 of them were male. The age range was from 5 years old to 16 years old. The bulk of our referrals, over 80 of those, came from our schools. The next most common referral source was our police department, and after that was parents and DHS. Of the kinds of referrals, 45 of those, of that 116, were prevention referrals. 36 were school truancy and school incorrigibility. 8 of them were educational neglect. And then the rest of them were an assortment of things like retail fraud and intimidation or harassment, sexting, receiving and concealing merchandise, harassing communication. So really an assortment of different kinds of things that kids can get themselves in trouble, but hopefully is a one-time mistake, and we're able to intervene, and that way they learn what they need to and they don't make it into the court system. So Amy mentioned emergency needs, and that is one of the things that we have done a lot of during the pandemic. Emergency needs is kind of this open category of things that families can use support with. So it's one of the beauties of youth assistance. I can go to my board and say, I have a family and this is what's happening with them. Do we have a resource? Do we have the means to meet the resource needed? Do we know somebody? We also, because we're part of a larger county organization who has been able to get some funding for scholarships, we were able to ask for help from them as well and apply for scholarships, which were really needed past year. So just in the past year or 2 years, I'm sorry, from that fund, but mostly from 2020, received over $6,000 from that emergency need from Oakland County. We were also able, through our Oakland County umbrella, to apply for a $2,000 operational grant, which was really important to just helping cover the cost of things like our volunteer insurance, some of our office supplies, things like that. So I'm proud to work with such a hardworking board. They stretch their personal resources as well as our organizational resources very diligently and do a lot with it. And as far as, I guess, the casework part, looking forward to the time when I can meet with people in the office again. But in the meantime, it's been pleasantly surprising to see how many families engaged on Zoom once they kind of got the hang of it. Some FaceTime, so I agree to that too. I can't say that I've learned how to be completely successful at doing any kind of play therapy with a 6-year-old who can run away from the table and close the screen, but we work at getting creative with it. So in a nutshell, that's kind of our numbers and what we've been doing the past 2 years. Are there any questions?
Anyone on council have any questions for the youth assistants?
I don't have any questions, but I gotta say, you guys are extremely impressive. And thank you so much for bringing this presentation to us.
Anyone else? All right, Deb, Amy, thank you so much for doing this presentation. Yeah, last year, I think you normally do a presentation April, May, June type, and everything was so new with COVID. So I really appreciate you bringing us up to speed. And yes, I'm looking forward to doing things in person as well. I think we all are, and I can't imagine, I don't know how teachers have managed this last year and a bit doing everything online with the younger students. So thanks to you for that. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming here this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you are not speaking, can you please mute? Thank you. All right, and I'm back. Okay, yes, thank you. All right, so that was the last. So next up, we have meeting open to the public. This is the opportunity for the public to speak. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. Give your name, your address, or any affiliation with the city, and ask that you address your comments to me. First person I see is Kip. So Kip, you are up. You've got 3 minutes. Please go ahead. Kip, you've got your hand up. Okay. Is there
Okay,
any?
I was on mute, sorry.
Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So I guess I would like to address, in the city of Madison Heights, the sound wall located south of Lincoln, east of 75 there. And I've spoken with several of the residents, and we were wondering if we could get that to then continue as opposed to it being stopped and broken at the streets of like Hudson and Kalama and just north. They're going to move the I-75 off ramp just south of Hudson, so it's going to be creating a lot more noise, pollution, as well as traffic and congestion in the area, with a braid of 696 in that area as well. I know it's something that I've emailed you and spoken to you about before, and so I'm here to address that and see what the city can do to help with the residents in the area.
Thank you. All right, I see Diana and then I see Liz, so I'm going to go in that order. Diana, you are next, and then Liz, you are after. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you, Mayor Grafstein, and to everyone here, City Council and other guests. My name is Diana Darland, and I'm a member of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. And I would like to thank you very much for agreeing to proclaim June 4th Gun Violence Awareness Wear Orange Day on behalf of Moms Demand Action and your Madison Heights residents, Alice McKeague, Linda Baker, Miranda Maras, and Emily Rohrbach. We really appreciate it so much. And in doing so, you have honored the more than 100 people killed every day by guns and helped to raise awareness of the need for gun safety In fact, gun deaths take many forms, including suicide, domestic violence, unintentional shootings, and homicides. Tragically, gun violence is now the second leading cause of death for American children and teens. As you probably know, just this past weekend, there were at least a dozen mass shootings in the US, and in one incident, a male student was shot and killed on his graduation day. And in another, a 6-year-old was killed in a drive-by shooting while on his way to kindergarten. So far this year, over 7,500 Americans have been killed by gun violence. 471 were teenagers and 121 were children. By proclaiming June 4th, Wear Orange Day in your good city, you have joined hundreds of others across the country and more than 28 in Oakland County alone in bringing attention to the tragedies that I just mentioned. The color orange has a history in the gun safety movement. It was the color that Hydea Pendleton's friends wore to honor her after she was shot to death on the streets of Chicago at just age 15, just 1 week after performing in President Obama's inauguration parade. And the color orange is worn by hunters to keep them safe and gun sense activists across our globe. If you are interested in any other ways that Moms Demand Action can help your community stay safer from gun violence, please feel free to reach out to me. One program we promote is called Be Smart. It's an educational presentation that it's aimed at keeping firearms out of the hands of children. So we also are in a position to distribute gun locks to people who own firearms, but want to keep them responsibly safe away from others, away from, children and others. So thank you very much for your support, your continued support. I believe Madison Heights has agreed to make the proclamation several years in a row now, and we really appreciate it. And I'm happy to answer questions if there are any. And thanks a lot for the time.
Thank you. All right, next up, I see Liz. That's all I see right now is Liz. So Liz, you are up next, please. Go ahead. Oh, we can't hear you. No. Hold on a minute. Is there anybody else who wanted to speak while Liz figures this out?
Hello?
Oh, I heard somebody. Liz, I'll come back to you next. Who said something?
I did.
Hi, can you identify yourself, please?
My name is Ronnie Stone. I live at 26305 Groveland, Madison Heights, Michigan.
Okay. Ronnie, please go ahead.
Last week, I went by Page Middle School and I seen some of your city workers up there working. They were weed whacking and spraying fence lines.
Yep.
You guys don't have the money for a lot of stuff, but why would a city workers be doing work at a school district property? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Liz, can we come back to you? No, we can't hear you.
You have headphones in?
Okay, is there anybody else who wanted to speak? Quinn, please go ahead. Liz, we will come back to you. Quinn, you need to unmute.
I promise you my mute is working.
I can hear you. All right, please go ahead.
Madam Mayor, City Council, hello. Thank you for granting me some time to speak. Quinn Wright, 906 Parliament, Madison Heights. I'm the chairman of the HREC. I'm refreshed because I just came back from vacation, but I'm excited to also tell you about Juneteenth that we have coming up to celebrate freedom and to celebrate the end of slavery in our country, but more so as an event of unity for the city of Madison Heights. This is an event for the entire city, not just for some folks in the city. I wanted to address that because I've got some questions as to whether or not this was for everyone, and it is. I've also received questions as to whether or not this had anything to do with Memorial Day, and we honor and respect Memorial Day, but the two events were not connected in any way. So I would encourage everyone to please come out to Juneteenth. We're also still collecting donations. In addition to, we need volunteers, and I hope to see everyone in the city come out. We are going to follow protocol and health restrictions, and we are going to ask folks to please just respect each other's space. So please come out to that event. On another note, this city has shown that it has the desire to be progressive in a lot of ways and to respect of a lot of our neighbors and a lot of our different folks in the city. One of the things I come to you guys about logistically is to ask if we could take a look at potentially putting a roundabout at 12 and John R. Logistically, I know that there's a lot of upfront costs that is involved with that, but I know over time that they do pay for themselves. And to folks who haven't dealt with them before, I know that they can be confusing at first, but the energy costs that that you don't take up with the removal of the stoplights and the flow of traffic just kind of takes away from the congestion. And if you've been at 12 and John R lately, you know that it can be incredibly congested. So I know that that's a big undertaking by the city in terms of upfront costs, but I think studies have shown over time it's something that could actually save money and be better for the environment because it reduces our dependence on electricity and our carbon footprint. So please come out to Juneteenth. I hope to see everyone there. We still need volunteers, and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I see mutual aid, but I'm going to go back and see if I can hear Liz first.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yay, please go ahead.
Okay, so I live in Madison Heights. I live on Middlesex Avenue, and I just wanted to speak about the concerns that KIP had regarding the I-75 modernization project and the need for a continuous sound barrier wall, specifically from 696 heading north to Lincoln. It's really important for residents living in that area of Madison Heights to have a sound wall, not only to mitigate noise and pollution effects living close to I-75 and 696, but it's also really important for just maintaining their quality of life. So I'm asking that the city works really closely with MDOT to figure out how we can make that a reality. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. And I see mutual aid. Do you want to, Saeed, if you want to go ahead?
Hey, thank you for giving me this time. I want to remind everyone that we are actually planting our community garden this upcoming Saturday at noon. I know it's a Memorial Day weekend, but what better way to celebrate and honor that weekend by giving back to the community? So we hope to see everyone come out there and help us plant and give us the inaugural beginning of our garden. And then my second thing was speaking about traffic. I think a really great place to put a stop sign is in front of Wilkinson Middle School on Groveland and Grieg. If you ever come out here and watch cars come by, they go pretty fast, and that's quite concerning, especially because the school is right there, and people should be, a little bit more cautious around the school. But that's all I have. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak this evening? All right, I do not see anyone, so I'm going to close public comment. And next up, we have communications. We have one, it is from Kelly Ording, the resignation from the Environmental Citizens Committee. I don't know if we really have a report. I'm guessing she handed it in. Yeah, okay. So what is the wish of council?
Your Honor.
Yeah.
Councilor Rohrbach?
I move that we accept the resignation of Kelly Ordning from the Environmental Citizens Committee and declare the seat open.
Thank you. There's support?
Your Honor.
Corbett?
I'll support, and perhaps the maker might entertain issuing a certificate to Kelly.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, clerk, can you please take roll call vote?
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilman Gettings,
Yes.
Councilor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
So yes, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly, for your for working on that board. Next up, we have reports. First one, D1, is from the city clerk, temporary relocation of precinct 2 for the August 2nd and the November 3rd election. Their report, Marsh?
Yes, precinct 2, currently located at the Korean First Central United Methodist Church, is currently not available for the August election due to the pandemic. City Council is being asked to consider authorizing the temporary relocation of this precinct to the Active Adult Center for the August 3rd and the November 2nd elections. Precinct 2 was also located at the Active Adult Center for the previous election, so keeping the location would be the simplest for the residents. In the spring of 2022, due to the census, the citywide reapportionment report will take place and all precinct locations will be under review for permanent locations. Staff and I recommend approval of the temporary relocation of this precinct to the Active Adult Center for both the August 3rd and November 2nd elections from the Korean First Central United Methodist Church to the Madison Heights Active Adult Center.
All right, thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Mr. Corbett,
I move that the council concur with the recommendation of the city clerk and authorize the temporary relocation of precinct 2 for the November and the August elections this year to the senior citizen facility on John R.
thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Councilman Clark?
I'll support.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, just one quick question to the clerk. Do we don't have an August 3rd election at the moment, do we? That's just an open date?
The Madison District Schools did submit a proposal. So
Okay. I thought
partial
that was
relocation.
earlier. Okay.
No,
All right.
so that does involve precinct 2 as well. So they will be located there in August.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that clarification. Is there any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Councilman Gettings,
Yes.
Councilor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
Vote yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is the appointments to the Crime Commission. So this is, these are mayor appointments. So the Crime Commission was the board that we've had for several years, and in the summer, it was dissolved along with Multicultural Board, and it came back as the HREC, and then we sort of did an offshoot of it. So redoing this is mayor's appointment. There are 6 regular seats, and there are 2 alternates. So 3 regular members and 1 alternate until August 2024, 3 regular, 1 alternate until August 2023. So clerk, should I just say who I want and ask someone to confirm that motion, or how does that work?
Yes, usually you say who you'd like, and then they will confirm your appointment. You can do it in a black if you want to do all, the terms that are expiring in the 1 year, and then another black for the terms that are expiring the other year. Or you can do it all at once.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm just going to do it all at once. I think we had over 15 applications. We had a lot of applications. So this was a really difficult one. Everyone had something to add, but ultimately it came down to this. For the August 2023 alternate role, I would like to appoint Colleen Monahan. For the August 2023 regular, would like to appoint Allison Fleming, Jeffrey Hilliard, and Lisa Leonard Sanoa. For the August 2024 alternate, I'd like to appoint Peggy Marentet. For the August 2024 regular, I'd like to appoint Martha Covert, Eliza Lee, and Tony Roberts. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor.
Councilman Corbett?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I lost you on about number 5. I hung in there for a while, but I did my best. So I with your permission, I will ask you to when we're done here to confirm the names, but
Okay.
I would move to confirm the 6. That's 8 people total?
8. Yes.
Yeah, the 8 nominations submitted by the mayor to the council.
Thank you. Is there support?
Ms. Grafstein,
Mr. Gettings?
I will support.
All right, thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to, I will repeat it. Is that, Mr. Corbett, you want me to repeat it?
Please, yes, thank you.
All right, for the August 31st, 2023 alternate role, expiring then, alternate role, Colleen Monahan. For the August 2023 regular, Allison Fleming, Jeffrey Hilliard, and Lisa Leonard Sanoa. For the August 2024 alternate, Peggy Marantet. And for the August 2024 regular, Martha Covert, Eliza Lee, and Tony Roberts. Is there any discussion?
Are we allowed, sorry, Mr. Mayor,
Discussion, please go ahead, Councilman Clark.
are we allowed to make recommendations at this time?
Your Honor,
Mr. Sherman?
these are mayor appointments. Council members don't have to vote for in favor of mayor appointments, which have now been on the table confirmed, but they could make substitute motions, they could do other things, but these are all 8 positions are per the original ordinance, and the resolution are mayor's appointments.
I think these are all great choices. I don't want to change any of the people. I just thought maybe like my recommendation would be to swap out Colleen and Allison and put Colleen in the permanent place and Allison in the alternate. My reason for this is that Colleen has a lot of experience with domestic violence. She works for Haven. She's also working directly with our police in another task force that City Council just actually gave a grant to. So I think everybody, all of your recommendations are fantastic. That would just be my only recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion among council? All right, Councilwoman Clark, thank you for your recommendation. We had about maybe 10 of these came in 2 weeks ago, and then the rest of them came in afterwards. And I've taken the last few weeks going over them. Over the weekend, I went over them. That would have, unfortunately, that would have been maybe a better time to have the conversation. I appreciate you bringing up Colleen's work with Haven. That was one of the things that kept coming out to me, was that she has that. So I appreciate that. And I'm going to guess that the reason that you chose Allison was because, and I don't have it here in front of me, she is a nurse. And so she works sort of on the other side. She was a nurse in a jail. And that just kind of pushed me over. Yeah, the jail system in the county, with the county. So they're very, very similar, but at this time, these are my nominations and they stand. But I do appreciate your input. And as we know, you don't have to be on the boards. You can still be active helping with what they're doing, and alternates are welcome at all the meetings. So thank you for your input. Is there any other discussion from council? All right, seeing none, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Councilman Gettings?
Yes.
Councilor Rohrbach?
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein?
Oh, yes, motion carries. Thank you. All right, next up, we've got the next 3 that were added on this evening, starting with the DPS contract. Mrs. Marsh, is there a report or?
No, I will just say that the DPS contract, as well as the contract coming up next, follows the exact same pattern that we discussed with council now a couple of months ago, and that council has approved for the other groups so far. So that would be a 1-year extension.
All right, thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor.
Councilman Corbett?
Ma'am, I would move that the council approve the recommended contract extension with the members of the DPS. It was recommended to council by staff for 1-year extension.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach?
I'll support.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Counselor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilman Gettings,
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
Vote yes, motion carries. Thank you. And then next up, contract for the court. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor, I would
Perfect.
offer the same smoothly worded motion that the council concur with the recommendation of staff and approve the 1-year extension of the existing contract with the employees of the 43rd District Court.
Thank you. Is there support?
Ms. Grafstein,
Mr. Gettings?
I will support.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilman Gettings,
Yes.
Counselor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
Vote yes, motion carries. Thank you. Next up that was added is the quality of life report. Mrs. Marsh, you have a report on that?
Yeah, I can give one. I'll just read the report that I sent to council so the residents know what's going on. At the April 2019 City Council budget hearing, staff identified funds that had been saved over the original budget proposal from a contract with Oakland County Equalization. At that meeting, Councilman Bliss proposed allocating this money, if still available at the end of the calendar year, to quality of life boards for special projects. These boards at the time included the Arts Board, the Environmental Citizens Committee, the Library Advisory Board, the Parks and Recreation Board, and the Active Adult Center. At the March 8th, 2021 meeting, Councilman Bliss stated that he would like the city to do another round of quality of life projects, even if funding isn't available, just to enable City Council to determine the priorities of these boards should funding become available through savings. Following this meeting, the city issued a call for projects to the quality of life boards that now include the Environmental Citizens Committee, the Arts Board, the Active Adult Advisory Committee, Parks and Recreation, the Human Relations and Equity Commission, and the Library Advisory Board. I have a list of funding requests that I will briefly go through, but it's important to note that funding that was allocated in the first round of projects was not carried forward. So a lot of these projects that they turned in for last year, such as like movies in the park, the library, that money wasn't carried forward because we were in the middle of the pandemic. Well, not in the middle, we were at the beginning of the pandemic last year in June. So we did not do carry forwards for these projects. Savings in the current budget has not yet been specifically identified. So if council's interested in financing these, the appropriate action would be to add to do a budget appropriation. And I can give you the account number at that time from community promotions, and that would come directly from fund balance. So the projects are the Parks and Recreation Board, and I think some of the representatives are on council. So if you want to elaborate, go ahead in comments. But the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board wants to do at least 3 free 1-hour outdoor yoga series. And it's my understanding those are going to rotate around in the parks. So Rosie's, Huffman, Civic Center. The Active Adult Center Board wants to do an Active Adult Center open house. The Library Advisory Board has developed a book and beats night, which would coincide with the Trail Tunes event. So they would have 4 stations during the Trail Tunes event. The Arts Board is interested in doing a mural at Huffman, which will complement the fitness court that, by the way, is having a grand opening on June the 11th. And the Human Relations and Equity Board is looking for funding for the Juneteenth event to be held this year on June the 19th. And the Environmental Citizens Committee has discussed Arbor Day and plantings / informational signage for the Bloom Project gardens. So each one of those have different dollar amounts. And what staff has recommended is $9,800 for these events versus all of the request is $11,500.
Thank you, Mrs. Marsh. Can you just go over that again? So the total request is $11,500. The recommendation from staff is 9,800, but we don't have the 9,800, or we need to do a budget amendment.
We will have to do a budget amendment and the money will have to be appropriated from fund balance. So typically what happened last time was we had money at the end of the calendar year in the budget and we allocated those savings. But that's not what's happening this year. This year we have yet to identify any money, but our fiscal year ends June the 30th. So we would be identifying money in like the end of July, 1st of August, if there was savings. If council didn't want to appropriate from fund balance, but if they do want to appropriate for fund balance, they can do that tonight. In either case, that appropriation is going to take a super majority of this group. And I'm going to share my screen because I don't know if you can see this. This is the allocation. So this request is what they asked for. And then the recommendation is what staff is recommending. And so my recommendation came across because I wanted to keep it under $10,000. That was what the original program was for. It was to use $10,000 of savings. It actually ended up being closer to 9,800. And it kind of kept consistency between the boards. So the most that we allocated was $2,000 if they asked for that, but we didn't give one board way more than we were giving other boards. Some boards like Parks and Rec only asked for $300. But in the situation like the Active Adult Center, as you can see, I just recommended reducing that to the 2,000 or actually 1,750, which keeps us under the 10,000 altogether.
And then, okay, no, that's okay. The Arbor Day, we already had Arbor Day.
Well, this would be for next year.
For
So
next
the way that the projects normally go is this doesn't happen until after the fiscal year end, and we figure out if we have savings. So yeah, this would be for the next year projects. This typically happens in July or August. Last time it happened in December because after the audit and the financial forecast, then we identified the funds and we moved forward and council made the award in January. So the timing is a little off, but we went ahead and pushed this out. Mark brought it up in March for a future date, but because some of the boards were doing activities such as the Juneteenth and Trail Tunes, I wanted to see what their focuses were before those events happened.
Ms. Grafstein,
Mr. Gettings?
earlier in your report, Melissa, you said calendar year, and then later on, you were talking fiscal year. So could you just define that maybe a little more?
Well, both of it comes off of savings from the fiscal year. So our budget is fiscal year. So I won't know if there's actually budget savings until after June. We have to wrap up the whole year. So that typically happens like in the end of July, first part of August. But last time we did it in December. And then we made the awards in January.
Thank
But
you.
I will just add, most of those projects that were turned in the first round did not get completed. Well, part of them didn't get completed and the money did not get carried forward. And I bring that up because I know that was a discussion at the Library Advisory Board. So they wanted to do last year a movie in the park. They were awarded the money to do the movie in the park through a reimbursement grant program from the city, from the savings that we had. But when we were doing carry forwards, that was the fiscal year last year when we were completely unsure what was going on with COVID. We had no idea what was going on. So we didn't carry forward anything that was not absolutely necessary. And this was a project that we were just doing because we had savings. So it wasn't necessary and it was not carried forward. So there is not carry forward money for that movie in the park. That being said, we are writing a grant for a movie in the park. So there are other means, but I just don't want people to think that they're doing last year's projects and this year's projects again.
I just wanted to clarify that. So fiscal and calendar. Thank you for your time.
Your Honor.
Councilor Rohrbach?
Do we need to make a motion before we can continue our discussion? All right. I'd like to, I move that we allocate the funds as recommended by staff of $9,800 from the fund balance to community promotion in account number 101-248-8800-000.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you had more zeros there. Is there
I don't
support?
think so.
Ms. Grafstein,
Gettings?
I will support.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor.
Council Rohrbach.
I just want to note that these, just for the public, these are like kind of special programs above and beyond what all of these boards do and what their overall work is in the community. So the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, advises the parks and the DPS and things like that, but it does, this $300 is not like the only money that is invested in our park system this year. I just want everybody to be really clear about that. This is for like a special extra, right? All of these are kind of a special extra that we have asked these boards to think hard about, to put together a proposal, and so that they can help the community in some extra special way. Many of these things are things that are going to be happening this summer. Not all of them, like Arbor Day one for next year and things like that. But these are things that are happening this summer. We can't, if we wait till the end of June to find out whether or not we have that $9,800 carryover, it'll be too little, too late, right? So I'm hoping that council will approve this, because the investment that these different boards have put into these the plans and the writing of the grants, and then their ability to be able to implement these special programs, it's not a lot of money in the end, and it is going to have a big impact on these different programs. And I think it's a well worth, like a good way to spend some of this money.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any council? Anything you want to say for discussion?
Your Honor, I just was going to make the observation that how really exciting it is to see the enthusiasm over in at least my little neck of the woods over in the library board. It's really a very cool idea that the group developed. Essentially, it's just an extension off of the Trail Tunes idea, but with a little bit of a sneaky, we're going to get a little education in on you, whether you're paying attention or not. Be talking about books, readings, and conveniently, our friend Councilor Rohrbach shared a family member who is educated and proficient in this specific area, and Ms. Shepherd helped us to get that coordinated and put together, and the kids really will enjoy it. It makes the coming over by the library interesting, and helps expand their imaginations, and it's not bad for everybody else either. So that's it. I just wanted to say it was a great job that all the groups did, but like I said, looking at my little corner of the world there, it did very well too. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion from anyone else on council? All right. So I guess I have a question, and that is, Councilor Rohrbach, you said that these are all kind of the extras, that the boards are doing other things. And I know that the Human Relations and Equity Board is doing a lot with Juneteenth, and I believe they've raised thousands of dollars for that project. I'm wondering if maybe you or Councilwoman Clark can tell us what else the group has been working on, like what else they have done. I know we had a couple of proclamations, but I'm wondering if you can let us know what else they've done.
Your Honor, you want to know what else HREC has done in general, or having to do with these quality of life grants?
Well, I guess in general, what you had said was that the grants, like you gave the perfect example with the Parks and Rec, that the $300 wasn't the only thing that was being done. So when I look at these, I know that the Active Adult Center, I know that they're doing things, it seems almost weekly. I know that the library is, they've just had their sale. They seem to be working on different things. And I know that we're always hearing about Juneteenth. And I guess that, well, I guess actually with that too, I'm not quite sure how you got this far without having the money for the porta-john.
Well, Your Honor, can I respond?
Yeah, no, please do.
I think that it's not that there's not the money for the porta johns. We're just the group that is doing the fundraising. You know, it's a it's a big hurdle to raise enough funds to do this, and we're hoping. I think that the group is hoping that part of the grant to this that is open to the HREC would be able to be used to offset some of the cost of that, so that some of the funds, you know, we're going to be paying for. There's, I don't have the budget in front of me for the Juneteenth event. Like, I'm not in charge of that, so I haven't seen all the things. But you know, there are, and Councilwoman Clark might have more information about the line items on it. But there are, you know, some staff time that gets paid for additional staff time. There will be what else? You know, if we have a few different performers and things like that, not everybody's coming to do it free of charge. You know, there's going to be some payment. There will be some, you know, speakers and tables and things like that, things that have to be rented in order to utilize them for the activity. Councilwoman Clark, do you have other?
I have a lot I'd love to add. Thank you very much. First, your Mrs. Mayor, your concern took a lot of turns, so I'm only a little bit confused as to what the actual question was, but I'll try and touch a little bit on the request for the quality of life grant. Is just because there was money available and we had an event going on that we knew was going to be an annual event, so we requested funds from that balance, like just like the Arts Board would with Trail Tunes or for the mural. The HREC is a relatively new commission, and one of the projects we chose to work on first was the Juneteen Celebration. It's getting a lot of our energy right now because it is a massive celebration, and we're pretty excited about what it's going to bring to the community. On top of that, our organization is also working on finding ways to create equity within our policies and accessibility to our residents. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And I know you've been to the last couple meetings, so I'm sure you're really aware of a lot of the cool activities that are going on. And those are all available live on Facebook too. So anyone who wants to know what it is that we have going on, please come join us on Facebook, because it's an exciting opportunity to see the ways that we are working to build equity in the community and some of the good ideas that all of our members have. So we applied for this just like the Arts Board applied for theirs, because funding was potentially available and you guys wanted to take a peek and see what it was that we're working on. I find it unsettling that you have concerns for why the HREC is not working on anything else. You bring this up a lot, and it's bringing a lot of unwanted tension into what it is that we're trying to do. It feels real icky and a little bit racist. So if you could maybe clarify what it was that you were talking about, if it had anything to do with that, or if you just wanted a little bit of insight on that.
Absolutely. Could you share with us the cool activities that are going on?
Yeah, so our accessibility committee is working on ways to find out how we can deliver meetings like this to our residents who don't have access to the internet. They meet privately in their own committees, and they bring back their research to our meetings. All of the members of these committees can give you more details on exactly what it is that we're doing, but we have a few committees in our group that are doing research on upcoming events or proclamations for Pride. We have different monthly awareness proclamations that we're bringing to the table. We're also very new, and we took on a really big event for our first thing, so it is getting a lot of our attention, but that doesn't mean we're not giving attention to anything else. We're giving attention to a lot of things, and we're taking a lot of great advice from community members who join us in our meetings.
Okay. I know that last meeting there was the proclamations for Asian Heritage and Jewish Heritage Month, and I'm just wondering, outside of the proclamations, like what is actually being done?
Your Honor.
And just to clarify, the reason I ask this a lot is that people continually call and ask me what's happening with this, and that's why I ask you.
Well, first of all, I want to, Your Honor, say point of order. I don't think this goes along with what our discussion is supposed to be right now. But I will respond to so one of the things at a recent HREC meeting, we discussed a potential ordinance for the city to consider about source of income non-discrimination. And we discussed it at length. We had a county commissioner and a person from a community housing advocacy group come and speak about it. We really had a nice long discussion about it to understand what the needs are, what potential funding sources there are, and then to recommend to City Council to take a look at. So, you know, there are things like that that are happening on a regular basis where we're looking at new items and considering them as a group. And, you know, sometimes those discussions take several meetings before they end up at City Council.
Thank you, Councilor Rohrbach. Okay, so you've made the proclamations and you're discussing ordinances that have to do with income.
Source of income, non-discrimination for housing.
All very big deals.
Okay. I did not realize that was something that was in the purview of this group. I guess when people are asking me what's happening, they're asking me about programs for people who have disabilities and the accessibility. And it sounds like there is a group that is working on that. There is a thought that something would be happening in February for the Chinese Lunar New Year. So, okay.
Once again, point of order, I don't think that this belongs under this discussion.
That's fine. Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, this entire conversation is a bit moot because we don't even know if we have the money. So I can't in good conscience, regardless, vote for something where we don't even know if we have the money. I would feel much more secure voting for any of these once we finish the year. And should we vote for the money for Juneteenth, there's no reason it wouldn't go to next year the way that Arbor Day is. This was just getting a bit confusing on what's here. So,
Your Honor. Your
thank you
Honor.
for the clarification, though. Yes.
I would just say that, you know, it was presented to these quality of life groups, these boards, as, you know, present us something that we can look at for this year. And so telling them to wait till next year feels like a disingenuous type of opportunity. So I would be, you know, I would be disappointed if the council decided not to go forward with it, but obviously we will vote and I'll see where we stand.
Right,
Your
thank
Honor,
you.
may I
Mr.
ask-
Colvin?
I want a clarification on one item. Did I understand either Ms. Marsh or Mr. Sherman earlier to say that this required a supermajority?
Your Honor,
Please, Mr. Sherman.
Ms. Marsh mentioned that appropriating any funds that are not budgeted for requires a supermajority, which is 5 votes of council. That's pursuant to section 7.6 B5 of the charter. Appropriating any money involves 5 votes.
And that specifically means this motion.
That specifically means this motion because the funds that are being discussed have not been budgeted for.
Okay, with respect, Your Honor, I was listening to the conversation and I do have to agree that we kind of wandered off a bit there on the thing, but one thing I definitely do not want to see happen, candidly, are these items get lost. So with respect and paying attention to what everybody just got done saying, I would move to postpone this item to the next agenda.
All right. So you are making a motion to.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there support?
I'll support.
Thank you, Councilman Clark. Motion has been made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilwoman Clark to postpone this to the next meeting, which is the 14th, I believe, of June.
Right.
Take your word for it. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Is there any discussion?
Your Honor.
Councilman Clark.
I think it's a good idea if we postpone because we have 2 members of council who aren't here today who I knew wish they could be for this decision. So I think it's important that we allow them in on this decision.
That's fine, thank you.
Ms.
Is there-
Gladstein,
Mr. Gettings?
shouldn't we look at the timetable we have in front of us? Are some of these groups hoping to have this money in their planning stages, if you will? And would this not hurt them in a way?
I don't believe it will. Councilor Rohrbach said for the Juneteenth event, which is the 19th, that they do have the funds there. They were just looking for the extra, if I understood that correctly. Arbor Day isn't until next year. The library book and beats, that is in August with Trail Tunes. I don't know of any other dates.
Thank you, Ms. Gladstein.
Is there any other discussion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach?
I would just note that sometimes it takes more than 5 days to implement something once you have the money. So if we're not gonna, some of these things that, the Parks and Rec, the yoga thing, it's only $300, but it's, we're trying to start it in June. And if that's not going to, and you need to be able to plan ahead. So, and if the HREC is going to receive funds for their items, it would, I say they have raised funds. I'm sure they will be able to cover the costs that they need to do. They might have to cut other things along the way because they don't have the funds that they know that they have for, if they knew $1,200 is available for Porta Johns, they could use that $1,200 in another place to continue the program. I'm just saying that it is 5 days. So that's just a very short period of time. In addition, I know that the Library Advisory Board group has, it doesn't go until August, but I have talked to the organizers of that, and there is quite a bit that goes on in order to make all of that happen. And once again, it's going to take quite a bit of time to get that implemented. That's all I'm saying.
Your Honor, I agree with the counselor, but I would respectfully suggest a no vote this evening by the council would have a much more detrimental effect. So that's just, and you heard everything I did, so that's the only reason I made the motion. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilman Corbett. Is there any discussion?
Ron.
Council? Sherman?
One more point of information for council, and that is on the substitute motion to postpone to a date certain. It requires 3 votes of the 5-member quorum that's present.
Oh, by golly, we got that right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sherman. Is there any other conversation or discussion, council? All right, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote on the substitute motion to postpone the quality of life vote until the next meeting on June 14th?
Yes. Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilman Gettings,
No.
Councilor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
You already got me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mayor Gresty.
I vote yes, motion carries. We will have this discussion at our next meeting. Thank you. Next up is bid awards purchases from the police chief, the IT backup server purchase. Mrs. Marsh, you have a report?
Yes, on April the 12th, City Council tabled the purchase of 2 IT backup servers from Dell Technologies using government contract pricing at a cost not to exceed $16,110, pending a review by ITech. On April the 19th, the Information and Technology Advisory Committee reviewed this item and unanimously approved, recommending that City Council approve this purchase as presented. The funds for this replacement are budgeted and available, and I will make one note. There is another piece to this that does not require council approval, but I just wanted to make you aware that we are also, along with this purchase, implementing cloud storage for about $4,000.
Great, thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor.
Councilman Corbett,
I move that the council approve the recommendation from, well, I guess it'd be the IT committee now to proceed with the purchase of the backup servers. And I just lost the page. So what, may I ask, what was the total number on that acquisition, the total price?
16,110.
What she said. Thank you.
thank you. For support,
Ms. Grafstein,
Gettings,
I will support.
thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Councilman Gettings,
Yes.
Councilor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
Vote yes, motion carries. Thank you. Next up, we have G ordinances. First one is 2165, the zoning text amendment 21-01, revised requirements for application, review, approval, and enforcement of site plans, first reading. Mrs. Marsh, can report?
Yes, the site plan review process is being amended to clarify the application review process for site plans and create a more consistent process. Specifically, this amendment clarifies which developments, uses, and activities require site plan review, developments or activities that would require planning commission review, site plan submittal requirements, and the final engineering review process. It also clarifies site plan extension process, the timing of building permit applications, and definition of minor and major amendments, and allows administration flexibility from current facade standards. The City Council is being requested to review this amendment recommended by the Planning Commission. If City Council concurs with this recommendation, the action would be to approve upon first reading and schedule the second and final reading of the regular City Council meeting of June the 14th.
Thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor.
Corbett,
I move that the council adopt on first reading recommended ordinance 2165. It's actually an amendment to 2165, revising the requirements for application, approval, and enforcement of site plans.
thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach,
I'll support.
thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right. Seeing none, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Yes. Councilor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilman Gettings,
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
Vote yes, motion carries. Thank you. Next up, ordinance 2166, zoning text amendment 21-02, revised maximum permissible heights for RM multifamily B2, oh, it's on there twice, and B3 zoning districts, first reading.
The City Council, Planning Commission, and the Downtown Development Authority have all expressed interest in promoting and attracting mixed-use developments. In addition, with the rising cost of development, many builders are finding a need to maximize the amount of building on a property to see a return on the investment. And with a demand for ground floor commercial spaces to have higher ceilings, typically 14 to 15 feet, this pushes the overall desired building heights higher for 3-story buildings. This proposed amendment primarily addresses the building heights by extending maximum heights for the principal structures in the B1, B2, B3, and RM by 10 feet or 1 story. This amendment also updates the general standards for rooftop screening, mixed family, mixed-use developments in the B3, and drive-through mixed uses. The City Council is requested to review the draft amendment recommended by the Planning Commission. If City Council concurs with this recommendation, the action would be to approve upon first reading and schedule the second and final reading for the regular City Council meeting of June the 14th.
Thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach,
I move that City Council approves upon first reading a revision to ordinance number 2166 and schedule the final reading for the regular city council meeting of June 14th.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Mr. Corbett?
support, ma'am.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Yes. Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilman Gettings,
Yes,
Councilor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
Vote yes, motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have approval of the minutes from the regular city council meeting of May 10th. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach.
I move that we approve the city council minutes from the regular council meeting of May 10th, 2021 as presented.
Thank you. Is there support?
Ms.
Your Honor.
Grafstein,
Mr. Gettings?
I will support.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, clerk, can you please take a roll call vote?
Councilman Corbett,
Yes.
Councilman Gettings,
Yes,
Councilor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilwoman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
I vote yes, motion carries. Thank you. All right, seeing how there is no other business before us, I invite closing comments, starting with Councilman Corbett.
Well, with a couple of members of council absent this evening, I'm a little reluctant to pry the lid off a couple of cans, so we'll wait till next time. But I did want to wish everybody a safe holiday weekend. There will be a brief memorial service, I know, on Saturday. I believe it is 10 a.m. That'll be involving, I know, members of the council and a few of the people, the DAV and the other veterans groups that'll be involved. I'll defer to somebody else down the line to fill in the details, but the specifics, because I know we have to still be careful about sizing and limitations and stuff. But other than that, I just wish everybody a peaceful weekend and welcome to the new world, I guess, with the masks starting to slowly disappear. So best to all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilor Rohrbach?
Yes, thank you. I would like to note that the Juneteenth event is coming up on June 19th. There are some really great groups that are planning to perform. There's a rib contest. I believe that they're still looking for more people to participate in that. In particular, I'm excited about the Brazil Denard Chorale is going to come and perform, in addition to a lot of different performers, but I'm a choral geek, so I love it. I'm really excited that they, like a world-renowned choir that is here in Detroit, and I'm really excited that they're going to bless us with their performance. I also want to note, I've gotten a few questions over the last week that about some of the things that are happening in some of our parks. So I want to note that the Edison Park play structure has been gone for a few years. It was removed because it was dangerous. There had been some broken pieces on it that weren't able to be replaced. And so it was removed from the park a few years ago in order to protect our children. And it was slated to be replaced, I believe last year. Finally, it's funded, and it is slated to be replaced in this coming fiscal year. So I'm hoping if unless there's a big shortage on steel or anything else, that we'll be able to see that actually go into place this summer or early fall. And then the Huffman Park, I'm sure Mrs. Marsh will talk about it, but Huffman Park's active, what is it called? The Adult Activity Center. It's like for grown-ups. It's a playground for grown-ups to do some exercises at Huffman Park. The ground is getting laid, the cement is in, and it's looking really beautiful. So I'm very excited to see that. And I believe at the very beginning of June, it should be open. And I just want to say kudos to staff for being able to turn it on a dime to make that happen so quickly. The Parks and Rec Advisory Board started a Treads on Tuesday walking club, and that walking club is meeting every Tuesday evening at different parks around the city. Next week, it is they're meeting at 7 p.m. at the Nature Center, at the Red Oaks Nature Center near the Hales Street entrance. Everyone is welcome. Please join and get some walking together with your members of your community. The Environmental Citizens Committee is doing a native plant sale on Sunday, May 30th from 2 to 5 p.m. in the parking lot of Civic Center. And it will, the funds for that will go towards planting more native gardens and pollinator gardens throughout the city. So very exciting. We had one last year at the Trail Tunes event, and it was quite successful. And we're really excited to bring it back for another year. So if you love plants and native plants, come on out, get your supplies and get your gardens all ready this year. I also want to say thank you and congratulations to the Friends of the Madison Heights Library for the book sale. You know, they changed the way that they do their book sales. In the past, it was, you know, every book was a certain amount. And in the last year, they changed it to take what you want and give what you think it's worth. And those sales, the amount that has come in from the selling it like that has increased their profit for the group, and it's just really a wonderful way that it has reduced the amount of work that it takes to do the sale, but has increased the amount of access to books for people in the community. So win-win-win. I will be wearing orange on June 5th to bring awareness to gun violence prevention. That is very much needed. You know, the sad truth is that so many people die either from violence committed by others or violence committed against themselves with guns, and it is a tragedy. And I, for one, want to see us be able to prevent that in whatever way we can. So I'll be wearing orange on the 5th, and I hope you will all join us. I know that there were some questions tonight about some of the road work and different things that were going on. At our last Parks and Rec Advisory Board, we also get reports about road work. There's a lot of road work going on. There's a lot of trees being planted to replace the road, place trees that were lost in previous road work. But I did note, and for the future, I want the community to know that the 14-mile road I-75 interchange, you know, when it kind of, I don't know if anybody's been up there, it kind of does this crisscross thing now. From what I understand, that will be coming to 12-mile as well in the next year. So we're in for some interesting times on our roads in the area. I personally drive that stretch of road like 6 times a day, so it'll be hard. And the last thing I want to say is I want to send my condolences and prayers to the Bliss family. Tony Bliss was just a kind of institution in the city, and we know that Mark is devastated. His family is hurt and hurting, and but we send our love and prayers to them as they grieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rohrbach. Mr. Sherman, anything from the city attorney this evening?
Yes, Your Honor. Echoing the comments of Councilor Rohrbach, on behalf of my brother Jeff, my father, our families, we wish to extend our condolences to Councilman Mark Bliss and his family on the passing of his father. You know, it's appropriate we're honoring student volunteers tonight and honoring volunteers during the course of the year. And Tony Bliss appeared before this council over a period of decades based on his volunteerism, being involved in so many civic groups and making the city of Madison Heights a better place to live, work, and play. The family is having a celebration of life in the Civic Center Park on Thursday, May 27th at 5 p.m. And our deepest sympathies to the entire Bliss extended family on Tony's passing. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Mrs. Marsh, anything from city manager?
Yes, I was trying to keep track of the events as Emily read them off, so I don't repeat them. So I marked them off. So I think there are a few, and I apologize if I repeat the same ones again. But on June the 5th, we're having the bike rodeo from 10 to 2. And on June the 12th, we're having the citywide garage sales again. So that's just now being rolled out. If you're interested, contact the DPS to get on the list to be put on the map. And then one of my favorite things right now is the fitness court coming to Huffman Park. So the details of that are at 10 o'clock in the morning, we're having the official ribbon cutting. That's when the president of Priority Health and the founders of National Fitness Commission are going to be there to really bring in the new fitness court. We'll have our elected officials there and do a more formal celebration. TV is going to be there, photographers. But later in the day is the part I'm looking forward to, and that's going to be 5:30 to 7. That's a launch party for the residents. So we've got a lot of great things planned. So if you can come out to the fitness court that day at Huffman Park, I do wish that you would. Again, 10 o'clock in the morning, more formal event with some formal demonstrations. And later in the day, 5:30 to 7, a more party-like fitness launch party. And other than that, I would echo the comments to the Bliss family. I know the celebration of life would be something that Tony would really look forward to and enjoy.
Great, thank you. Anything from the clerk's office this evening, Mrs. Ottman?
I just also wanted to wish my condolences to Mark and his family on the passing of his father.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Gettings?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just like to say, I had a short conversation with Mark today at the funeral home, and we touched on a lot of things that his dad had been involved with. JC's being one of them, the haunted house, and many, many more. He's going to be thoroughly missed here in the city. I give my condolences to his wife, to his family. It's a big loss for the city. The other thing, Mrs. Mayor, was everybody please come out Saturday for our fallen heroes for the Memorial Day. I know there's no parade this year, but it'll still be a touching ceremony at City Hall. I believe starting at 10 a.m., Ms. Marsh.
10 a.m.
Okay. I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Clark?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for speaking. Thank you, Councilwoman Clark, for starting this evening with a moment of silence for Tony Bliss. He was a huge force in the city. So the city is mourning along with the Bliss family. And as Mark's father, he probably had more of an impact on him than anyone else. So my heart goes out to Mark. I know what it's like to lose your dad. So yeah, it's a really, really sad time. I want to invite everybody to the Memorial Day service. If you haven't already got a copy, please see if you can get one. I know that there were people who were upset that we're not doing the parade. The parade is a lot of fun, be a great time to get out and see people. But the meaning of Memorial Day isn't the parade. It's to remember the people who gave their lives for our freedom. And I am so glad that we are still able to honor that. Thank you, everyone. Our next meeting will be June 14th. It is a Monday. The time is now 9:11. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Good night.